Number 10. The Punt Gun. You think your 12-gauge shotgun has a kick? That is cute. Back in the 19th century, hunters didn't care about sport. They cared about volume. And nothing says volume like a shotgun the size of a telephone pole. This was the Punt Gun. It was basically a handheld cannon, usually over 8 feet long, with a bore diameter of 2 inches. That is wide enough to fit a pool ball inside. Instead of firing a few pellets, this heavy hitter fired over a pound of lead shot at once. Think of it like this. Regular hunting is like using a fly swatter. Using a punt gun is like bringing a tank to a pillow fight. Hunters would mount these things on small boats. They would drift up to a flock of ducks resting on the water, and boom. One shot could harvest 50 to 100 birds instantly. It worked too well. It depleted waterfowl populations across America at an unsustainable rate. By the early 1900s, the government realized there would be no ducks left if this kept up. Federal laws stepped in to stop the practice. If you tried to use one today, the recoil alone would probably sink your boat, which is exactly what you deserve. Number 9. The LZR Racer Suit. We usually think of rule breaking in sports as involving chemistry or medical shortcuts. But in 2008, the controversy was something you wore on your skin. Enter the Speedo LZR Racer. This wasn't just a swimsuit. It was a technological marvel developed with help from NASA. Yes, the rocket scientists helped design a pair of swimming trunks. The suit used ultrasonically welded panels to compress the swimmer's body into a perfect hydrodynamic tube. It trapped air to add buoyancy. Think of it like this. Regular swimming is like running through mud. Swimming in an LZR racer is like falling down a greased elevator shaft. You just go faster. The results were wild. At the Beijing Olympics, about 94% of all races were won by athletes wearing this suit. In less than 2 years, swimmers broke over 90 world records. It made the sport look like a video game with cheat codes turned on. Swimming officials realized the sport was no longer about talent. It was about who had the best high-tech gear. In 2010, they banned these suits forever. Number 8. The Shoestring Repeater. This is one of the most ridiculous examples of American bureaucracy you will ever hear. It involves a piece of string and a federal prison sentence. In the gun world, modifying a standard rifle to fire continuously like a military device is a serious felony. You need special licenses and government approval. Or apparently, you just need a shoelace. Here is the trick. Someone realized that if you took a 14-inch piece of string and rigged it in a specific loop to utilize the rifle's own recoil motion, the mechanism would cycle automatically. It turns a standard rifle into a rapid-fire device. It's like hot wiring a sports car with a paperclip. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives did not find this funny. In 2004, they issued a ruling that declared a 14-inch shoestring, when used this way, was legally classified as a restricted device. They eventually clarified the law, but for a brief moment in history, a piece of string in your pocket was technically in the same legal category as heavy military hardware. So, check your shoes. Number 7. The Stickum hands. Imagine playing football, but you have the grip strength of a superhero. That is basically what Lester Hayes of the Oakland Raiders did in the late 1970s. Lester was a good cornerback, but he wanted to be a legend. So he started using a substance called Stickum. This was an industrial-grade adhesive paste. And when I say he used it, I mean he practically bathed in it. He would slather this goop all over his hands, his arms, and his uniform. The result? If the football touched him, it stayed on him. He caught 13 interceptions in a single season. It is like playing baseball with a glove made of superglue. It completely disrupted the game. Opposing players complained that they couldn't even block him because they would get stuck to his jersey. The NFL realized that watching a man turn into a human flytrap wasn't fair play. In 1981, they created the Lester Hayes rule, banning sticky substances on the body. Number 6. The NASCAR Cheaters Hall of Fame. NASCAR is the gold standard for creative engineering. If you aren't bending the rules in NASCAR, you are just driving in circles. Here are a few tricks that were so genius, they got banned. First, the smoky eunuch fuel line. Regulations said the gas tank could only hold a specific amount, but they didn't say anything about the fuel line. So, legendary mechanic Smokey Eunuch built a fuel line that was 11 feet long and 2 inches wide. It coiled through the car like a snake and held gallons of extra gas. That's like sneaking extra snacks into a movie theater by hiding them in your jacket lining. Second, the T-Rex. In 1997, Jeff Gordon showed up with a car designed by a literal rocket scientist. Every single part was customized to the absolute limit of the rulebook. It was so fast it made the other drivers look like they were looking for parking. NASCAR officials inspected it, found nothing technically illegal, and then told the team, don't ever bring this car back. Third, the lead helmet. Legend has it that driver Darrell Waltrip needed to meet the minimum weight requirement, but wanted the car light during the race. The story goes that he filled his helmet frame with heavy lead weights. During the race, he would allegedly dump the weights out onto the track. He was literally lightening his load to victory. Number 5. The Onion King. In 1955, a farmer named Vincent Kasuga pulled off a trick so effective that the U.S. Congress had to ban it. He decided to play the stock market, but with onions. Vincent and his partner quietly bought up 98% of all the onions in Chicago. They filled warehouses with millions of pounds of onions. They literally owned the market. Think of it like this. Imagine if one guy owned all the toilet paper in the world. He controls the price. Vincent drove the price up, making millions. Then, he did the twist. He bet against the onion market and flooded Chicago with his supply. The price crashed from dollars per bag to just pennies. The onions became virtually worthless. Farmers went bankrupt. The smell of spoiling onions in Chicago was reportedly horrific. Congress was so angry that they passed the Onion Futures Act. To this day, you can trade oil, gold, and corn, but it is illegal to gamble on onions. Number 4. The Somersault Leap. Figure skating is usually pretty elegant, but in 1998, a French skater named Surya Bonali decided she was tired of being polite. In the Nagano Olympics, she knew she wasn't going to win gold with a standard routine due to an injury. So, she decided to do something impossible. She performed a backflip, landing on one blade. Now, doing a backflip on ice is insane. It is like doing parkour on a kitchen floor covered in olive oil. The move was spectacular. The crowd went wild. But the judges were horrified. The skating union had banned backflips years earlier because they were deemed too dangerous. She was penalized and didn't win. But the trick worked too well in history. She is the only skater people remember from that year. The move remains banned because organizers know that if allowed, every skater would be risking career-ending injuries trying to copy her. Number 3. The Mail Yourself to Freedom Trick. Prison escapes usually involve digging tunnels, but Richard Lee McNair realized the best way out was through the mailroom. In 2006, McNair constructed a sort of pod out of a pallet and shrink wrap. He climbed inside, used a breathing tube, and buried himself under a pile of empty mailbags. He shrink-wrapped the entire pallet from the inside. He packed himself like a parcel. A forklift picked him up and drove him to a warehouse outside the prison walls. It was a hot day, and the warehouse was incredibly hot. McNair was wrapped in plastic, struggling for air, waiting for the workers to leave for lunch. Once they left, he cut himself out and walked away. It was brilliant. Now, prisons inspect outgoing pallets with spikes and heartbeat monitors. You can't just ship yourself via commercial mail anymore. Number 2. The fan car. In 1978, the Brabham BT46B appeared in Formula One. The designers claimed the giant fan on the back was for cooling. That was a lie. The fan was actually a giant vacuum system. It sucked the air out from under the car, gluing it to the track. While other drivers had to slow down for corners, this car could take them at full speed. It was like driving on rails. It won its very first race by a massive margin. But there was a problem. The fan sucked up rocks and dust and blasted them directly into the faces of the drivers behind it. It was a road hazard. The car was retired after just one race. It remains one of the only cars in F1 history to have a perfect, undefeated track record. Number 1. The Lottery Loophole. We all know the lottery is a tax on people who are bad at math. But a retired couple, Jerry and Marge Selby, realized that the lottery itself was bad at math. They found a game called Windfall. The rules said if the jackpot hit $5 million and no one won, the money rolled down to the smaller prizes. Jerry, a math major, realized that during a roll-down week, the math flipped. If you bought enough tickets, the probability shifted in your favor. This wasn't gambling. It was a calculated strategy. So, Jerry and Marge started buying millions of tickets. They spent weeks standing at convenience stores, printing tickets for hours. They grossed $26 million, walking away with about $8 million in profit. They didn't even keep it all. They helped their friends in town get in on the action. The lottery eventually figured it out and shut down the game. But for a few glorious years, this retired couple beat the house by simply being smarter than the people running it. That's our list. Which one of these tricks would you have tried? Let me know in the comments. And if you are currently shipping yourself in a box, please poke some air holes. Stay safe.